Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Game Logic for the Rounding Off Infinity Gaming channel on YouTube, one of the co-hosts of the Enough to Keep Going, a weekly video games podcast on the E2KG Network podcasting channel on YouTube, back with another episode. This is episode number 418 for Sunday, the 4th of January, 2020, 2026, the new year of our gaming. With me, as always, I have my stalwart partners in crime, Mr. DBQ Hams. How are you doing, DBQ?
Oh, glad to be back for another year. Or I guess I should say I'm doing well and glad to be here and giving you time to switch some dials on the background. So I was a little too fast. Got to get back into the swing here after being on hiatus. So glad to be here, gentlemen.
Thank you. And Towmaster99, how you doing, Tow?
Doing well. Happy New Year, everybody.
Very cool, very cool. So without much further ado, let's get to it. So with segment 1, our main gamer experiences story for the week, although obviously we've really been off playing games for about 2 weeks, but we'll probably just be hitting the either the highlights of the most recent week, or there may be some callbacks that go back through those full 2 weeks, but we'll see how it goes. DBQ, you've been playing a game that I am unfamiliar with.
Yeah, so this is a game that popped up on my radar this fall. I saw a trailer for it maybe in September, and it was kind of lightly tracking it, right? Not a huge thing. It came out December 9th, so kind of after all the big releases, just kind of trickled out there, right around the time that we were doing our superlative show. So this is Adrift, and it's a solo developer. It is somebody who goes by the initials SK98, based out of the Netherlands. His name is Stefan Kwak. As he proclaims, a car mechanic turned game developer. And this came up on my radar because the perspective of it, the kind of basically, if you're looking at the video here, it's Adrift is the name of the game. Adrift, ADRIFT. You are driving a vehicle across kind of futuristic, otherworldly landscapes. And it's very it's a little floaty, but in like a 1980s top-down car type of way. There's definitely physics here as you're going over different landscapes. And, I've gotten stuck a couple different times, and, it is so, but you also you have a brake, you have a reverse, you have a handbrake, so you kind of drift around. And what you're doing is you are this transport vehicle that is moving a energy core between trying to get it to various different places. And so that's part of the different missions that happen here. So this is right out after the tutorial area, kind of the opening area. And you have the core, and as you're driving around, the energy core is exposed to the elements and it's heating up. So you have this kind of stamina meter or timer that is going from blue to yellow to red. As it fills up, it's just a circle. And if you move from these kind of pillars, you can deposit the core there, and then you're safe. And so it's this push pull of going out. There's no map. It's a real dichotomy of when you're not hauling the core, it's this super chill game. The color palette is very kind of vaporware, kind of neon. And when I first played it on the Steam Deck, and I thought, oh, this must be Steam Deck must not handle this. It's unsupported by the Steam Deck, so I wasn't sure. So I played it on desktop, and it is, everything is a little fuzzy and kind of out of focus in the landscape. And so it has this real distinct art style. So as you're driving around, it's very chill. It's very kind of calm music. And what you're trying to do is, one, you're just exploring this area. So in this video here, up in the upper corner, there's this little glowing dot that I eventually get to. And it's kind of telling you story bits as you go. This is actually a repair piece. But as there's other kind of exploration areas that give you kind of a little bit of a narrative, not a whole lot of narrative, but a little bit of narrative as you're going through of this landscape or this world that you're in. And what you're trying to find is these kind of safe stations for the core. And so once you find them, you can teleport back to the core that has the other safe station that has your core, and then you have to drive to the next spot. And so part of it is it is wide open. Like if I'm driving around without the core, I can go forever and just kind of explore. But I can't go any further. Like I can't progress any further if the safe station that I find is too far away. And so, as and in this one here, I'm going out and finding a safe station. I warp back to pick up my core, and then as you pick up your core, techno synth music hits, and like it goes from this calm kind of serene kind of music to this increasing pulse as it's amping up the tension and the pressure of trying to get to the core, get to the next space. And so I'm, and because the controls are, in my head canon, this is a world that has a little bit lighter gravity, right? And so I'm drifting a little bit more. I'm flopping around a little bit on the controls. There are times when it looks like there's a straight path and there's this kind of path throughout the bushes or the brush or the landscape, and maybe that's a shortcut and so I end up, as the music's going, I'm racing to try to remember where I was, because there's no waypoints, there's no maps, as I said before. So you're trying to remember the path you took to get back to that last safe spot or the new safe spot that you found to progress it. And and so it's a nice bit of tension. As I've been playing it, there's been times where I can get there really quick because I kind of remember exactly where I'm going. There's been times when I've taken a wrong turn and kind of realize it a little bit, too late, and have to, you blow up and you start kind of over from the last time that you had a space, had a safe station. And there's been times where, like in this one, actually, I don't think I record the end of this run, but maybe I do, is I just barely get to the end of it as my timer is about to explode. And so I get there, it's ticking up, the music, everything, the tension is ramping up, but I get to that next safe space and can store it and play again. And so it's a nice kind of, like, there are times where I'm just driving around. It's a great late night game where it starts off really slow, and then you can make it as tense as you want to some degree. And so, my heart was pounding, my pulse was up playing it a couple times. It's $12-13. I think I picked it up on a launch discount for $10. It's not a huge budget game, but I love the art style, the fact that it's a solo developer, and it's just kind of a lot of fun. The drifting around is a fun kind of, it fits in that Art of Rally aspect without being necessarily as technical as Art of Rally is. So that's a drift on the PC.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Art of Rally, because that's exactly kind of where I was going to go when I first saw the video play of it. But obviously not the same developer, and as far as you can tell, no like connection between like the two games at all.
No, not that I can see. Yeah.
So just looking at the screen, it looked like it was pretty minimal. So there's no map or anything. You just basically got to memorize everything.
Yeah. Yep. And I think, and that's part of its design, is that you are kind of tracking where you're going. And it is, the nice thing about it is because when you don't have the core, there's no time limit at all. So I could go back and forth multiple times and like kind of memorize that route before I even try to grab the core. And so, yeah, there's no map at all. Like if I'm trying to progress quickly, it ratchets the tension pretty quickly because you get lost, definitely, because a lot of the landscape looks similar, like it would in like any type of open world landscape. But because you have the ability to backtrack and kind of double check your spots, it has the potential to, like, if you want to take it slow, you can learn those paths and go that way. But yeah, it's very minimalistic, which fits kind of the kind of vibe it's going for. It's very much a vibes type of game as well.
So, and other than the kind of like the environment itself, is there any kind of like enemies or obstacles or anything that you've run into so far?
There's some obstacles in terms of like puzzles and bridges that are not completely constructed, and you have to kind of use your power core to construct or finish lowering the bridge or things like that, which then opens up some shortcuts or another path to get on. I'm only a couple hours in, so I can't speak to. I haven't seen any enemies. I haven't seen any type of weapon that I would have, but it certainly could be kind of a race against something, or you have the ability to repair your vehicle, so potentially you're running over things, which is possible as well. But so yeah, I'm not really sure. And right now it only has 4 reviews on Steam, so it's going out there and trying to find out a whole lot more about it. There's not much more out there, but I'm actually really enjoying it. It's a nice kind of put on a headset and just kind of go with the music.
If you if you ran into a person who was like a real big Rally fan, this like is the type of game that really lends itself to, if you could have like a real world like navigator. Like if you could have, like if you could be driving, like if you guys could like play sessions and like switch off or something and have that person like make a paper map right as you were driving, then actually like call out voice commands, right? Voice directions to you on the drive back. That would actually be really neat.
I could also see this working really well in like a co-op aspect of like, potentially passing off the core resets the heat on it, or even having somebody else kind of be the navigator and you're the one kind of following along. Yeah, there's a lot of potential to it. I think when you first said somebody who's really into Rally, I was like, what it made me think of is like the controls are not really a Rally. They almost are this kind of, I don't know, what is it? They're not quite as spinny as Super Off-Road or Iron Man Off-Road, like the old arcade game, right, where you'd be kind of spinning around, but there's this bounciness to them that fits in with that as well.
Yeah, I was thinking about that game actually when I first saw that video of
it's not nearly as fast. There's a lot more physics to it, but it has that same type of kind of a weight and slide.
I was gonna say, yeah, it looks like it's more heavy. Yeah, it's like more weight to it.
Well, I think we've officially talked about Adrift more than a whole lot of people on the internet at this point.
Okay, one more question for it.
Yeah.
So when you're using the core, like you said, you had to use the core for like certain puzzles and stuff. Does that make your time go down faster, or the time is just kind of static? It just kind of counts down no matter what.
The timing is really about. It is described in game, and it fits in game, right? You are exposed to the elements, and so it's overheating. So the longer it's exposed, the more radiation or the more heat that it's getting from being out in the environment. So yes, it does play into that. Yep. But there are some, the ability of that, like the fact that you can double back, like rather than I could open up a bridge, but then double back to the last safe spot if I'm close, rather than trying to progress all the way to the next safe spot. So, and then grab it again, like warp back to that and go again. And so there are, it doesn't kind of, you could try to keep going with it and push your luck, but there's also that ability of kind of backtracking and staying safe.
All right, very cool, DBQ. Thanks a lot. Tao, you have been playing a game which was very popular last year. I jumped on it on launch day. I've been looking forward to hearing about how it plays on Nintendo Switch 2. So why don't you take it away?
Yeah, so I picked up Assassin's Creed Shadows, which I think I might have mentioned. I think the last show I was on before the superlative shows. I don't think I had played it yet, or I might have only played like a little bit, so I didn't really want to talk too much about it at that time. But yeah, I've been playing a good bit of it on and off these past couple weeks, actually more than that. But I kind of picked it up a little bit more since I was out of town, around family. So, I had my Switch around and I was able to, when I had some downtime, play it a little bit more. And yeah, I mean, I'm really enjoying it. I played a little bit of it docked when I was at home before I left. But mostly it's been handheld. I didn't really see, really too much of a difference as far as graphics between the two. As far as I could tell, like I said, it was only a little bit docked here, but mostly handheld. You can kind of see, like, I'm assuming on like PCs and even consoles, like maybe kind of like the cloth and the hair is maybe a little bit more flowy potentially because it's a little bit stiff on the Nintendo Switch for the most part. Like sometimes you see a little bit of it like kind of flutter in the wind or something, but for the most part it's kind of just static when like people are talking, but they're outside, and you can see wind blowing and stuff. Everything's blowing in the background, but the hair is just like it's like a Barbie doll or something, like a Ken doll. It's just kind of stuck on their head. But other than those kind of little weird graphical hitches, like stuff like that, I haven't really seen like anything really bad about it. Like the graphics look great. I mean, obviously it's a Switch, so it's not gonna be spectacular. But I've been enjoying it. I'd say it's about on par, maybe even a little bit better than Star Wars Outlaws.
Yeah, that was my big question: is how does it graphically kind of and performance wise compare to Outlaws?
Yeah, like I said, it's probably about a little bit better, maybe. As far as I can tell, I got to go back to Outlaws too. I was going to try to this past couple weeks, but I didn't get a chance to. But I've been playing more Shadows. But yeah, I've been really enjoying it, and just stories. I don't want to like spoil anything, but it's not like a super in-depth, detailed story. I mean, kind of something you've seen in movies and TVs and stuff like that. But it's about the gameplay for me. Obviously, I've been waiting for some kind of samurai ninja type of gameplay in the Assassin's Creed, which I always thought would lend pretty well to it. But it's pretty interesting so far. I've probably played at least like 3 to 4 hours of it, at least, maybe a little bit more. So I started just going through the story at first, and now, of course, I've Skyrim'd it, and I'm just going all over the place. So, as I see side quests and stuff like that. So that's pretty much what I'm doing right now. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I just got my first mount, so I got my first horse, and then over the Christmas season, they gave you, I think it was like a reindeer that they gave you, just like a Christmas gift. So I got that along with like a bow staff that's like a candy cane. So, they kind of did some goofy stuff like that, which was kind of cool. It was nice. It was a free thing that they gave out to the game. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot. I like the gameplay. For someone who doesn't really like stealth all that much, usually, obviously Assassin's Creed, that's what, you can kind of go either way with gameplay, but I've actually kind of enjoying the stealth aspect of it a little bit more, and I'll talk about that too on another game I've been playing later on during the round robin. But I kind of mix it up where I'll if it's not too many guys, I'll just kind of bull rush my way through it. Otherwise, I'll just try to I'll try to stealth kill as many of them as I can. Sometimes someone sees me, like I just didn't notice somebody off in the corner or something, they see me. But otherwise, I've been trying to do a good mix of the two. But yeah, I've been enjoying it a lot. I've only been playing the female so far, so I'm assuming as I go, it's going to switch back and forth between the two. Played a little bit of the male at the beginning, but then it's just been all the female so far. But yeah, I mean, I think of the two, I'm probably like her a little bit better, just because she's more stealthy and just a little bit more nimble. So I got the little grab and the hook. You can jump on the roof or something if you get into trouble, and that kind of stuff. So it's been a really great game so far on the Switch too.
What have your feelings been about the base building aspects of the gameplay?
I've done a little bit of that. I guess it's all right. Like you're not well, as far as I've seen so far, you're not like manually totally like building a base as far as I've been able to tell. It's just like, hey, here's a building, like here's the forge. They just plop the forge down like when you have the material. So it's really more about just gathering all the material as I'm out in the world, which is fine. I mean, it's pretty, to me, obviously playing like No Man's Sky and Arc and those kind of type of games, like where you can actually manually like kind of do it, not really brick by brick, but at least wall by wall and floor by floor, roof by roof. But this seems so far just to be pretty rudimentary. Just say like, here's a building you need to build and get the material, and we'll just build it for you. It's just automatic. So it's fine. It's nothing spectacular, at least for me.
Game logic. I think it says something that I played this game when it launched, and I don't remember any base building. So either I bounced off before I got there, or it like just blended in.
I think it's an aspect of the game that you don't have to like interact with that much. It was an aspect of the game that I just like couldn't be bothered. I did whatever the bare minimum was. I mean, I've got to go back and play, and play some more of it or do another run. But it was just kind of administrivia to me. It was like really like it didn't feel like it fit well with like all of the other stuff I wanted to do in the game. Like it just felt like a bother.
Yeah, I think you might get like a buff or something from these things, like as you build them, but it's nothing like spectacular. It's kind of like potions and stuff in Skyrim and those type of games where you can use them if you wanted to, but you don't really need to. It's just kind of there. So, and when you said that too, I was like, wait a minute, what base building? I was thinking of that. I'm like, oh yeah, there is base building. So yeah, like I said, it's pretty simple.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
Tao, did you play Valhalla or Odyssey? So this is the same set of developers with Odyssey. And I guess as I still think I want to go back to this game, but it didn't grab me as much as Odyssey, but it grabbed me more than Valhalla. So I'm curious on where this lines up with your Assassin's Creed lineage.
Yeah, I didn't play Valhalla, but I did play Odyssey. And yeah, I enjoyed Odyssey actually quite a bit. And I can, kind of see the similarities in between the two. But I probably like this one. I didn't really play a lot of Odyssey. I probably only played like 3, 4, maybe 5 hours of that, like in total. Not that it was a bad game. It's just I got distracted with other games. Obviously,
but you also played Phoenix Rising though as well, which is part of the same development crew.
Yeah, I did. This one's. I tried to go back to Phoenix Rising. I remember earlier in the year, and I was just like, "Whoa!" Like, it seemed a lot harder than the Assassin's Creed games, but it seemed like they were trying to go a little bit more RPG-y in that one, or there was a lot of stuff you had to kind of like buff and play around with, and like skill tree and stuff. And there's stuff like that too here, but it didn't seem as bad as that one was, and. That one, Phoenix, is like I almost just was gonna start over because I was like I kind of don't know what's going. It's kind of like Zelda too. When I try to go back to Zelda now, like Breath of the Wild and those type of games, it's like I can't. Like those are games that I want to start over, but I don't because it's there. I was already through it a lot, and then I was like I don't want to do all this again. So.
Right.
But
that is the benefit of an Assassin's Creed game is the map is for all the criticisms that the map takes, the beauty of that is it's easy to jump back in it because it gives you a pathfinding space.
Yeah. I don't. The map here doesn't seem as bad as the other past Assassin's Creeds. Like it's not like a whole bunch of stuff that they throw at you. There's some things obviously like the main quest they have on there, and you can kind of drill down even into that a little bit and pinpoint other stuff. But it's not like a whole bunch of stuff, at least for right now, where I'm at, on the map that's like totally distracting me. Like, yeah, I get distracted, but I kind of go out and sometimes you just stumble upon stuff. It's like, oh, hey, there's these guys are, beating up these villagers or something. It wasn't on the map. I just kind of happened on it, and then that ripples into other things. So it's kind of a natural thing.
Game Logic, you played this at launch, but you also spent a lot of time and really enjoyed Ghost of Yotai. Do you have incentive to come back to Shadows? Or does Yotai kind of scratch that itch and more so?
No, yeah, I definitely want to get back to Shadows. Yotai is... I don't quite... They're different games. I don't quite know how to put my finger on it and articulate it, but it is... There's a little more... Like I talked about during the superlative show, right? Yotai is so much of a, I want to call it a giving game in that it, you start the game, you enter the world, and the world just kind of like divulges of itself right to you with very little poking and prodding, right? There's a zen to it that is almost philosophical in nature, that is kind of like it is almost, I think the closest thing I can get to is it's you swimming, but it's you learning how to be part of the river, if that makes sense. Right? It's not like
Yes,
like
I mean it makes sense, but it also like fits in with like the philosophy of the game itself. Right? That's a very zen way to think of it. Yeah.
yeah, it's like you need to live in the world and be part of the world, and not, like I said, it's almost a feeling like it's not a game. Like it's you have to find that current in the world and like ride in that current. Like those wind currents are more of a metaphysical metaphor maybe than like even they're like intended to be. Like you need to exist and live in those currents and be part of that world. You're not fighting against it, you're not pushing against it, you're not, it's not the holodeck, right? You're not trying to, find the walls of the ship, right, and like break the illusion.
Right. You're treating it as a living space.
Yes, yeah. Whereas Assassin's Creed, I don't, and I don't have the problem with the Assassin's Creed that a lot of other people do in the open worldness. Like I don't get like flipped out by like overwhelmed by the total number of icons on the screen and like all of that kind of stuff. But it is much more like, but like those open world Assassin's Creed games, which I love, are much more of kind of an obstacle course, right? It's like you get, you parachute into the game park, right? And it's a lot of activity palooza, right, to get through. And you can pick and choose, but in similar ways to like a Far Cry type of game, it's like full of outpost takedowns, like which you guys know is like one of my favorite things in the world. But it's not it's not that same type of feeling that it is with like Yote. So to me, they're distinct enough that I look forward to getting back to both.
Nice.
Okay, Tao, anything else to add?
Nope.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and keep you on the mic as we transition into segment 2 and talk about another game genre similar to the Assassin's Creed open world games that I thought would very quickly hit its point of fatigue and exhaustion with the general public, but it seems to be continuing to chug along, and in a day where we are experiencing I don't quite know what I want to call, but a thing with SBMM, we now have this thing called ABMM. So, Tal, you want to take us through this first news story in the rundown?
Yeah, this comes from IGN from Wesley Yinpool. Arc Raiders dev confirms it's recently added aggression-based matchmaking, but it's not a full science. Arc Raiders developer Embark Studios has confirmed one of the community's biggest questions since the game came out. It does indeed feature aggression-based matchmaking, which I think I talked about this not too long ago, where it was people are kind of like betting the idea around if this is what they're actually doing in the game. But this means if you're big into PvP, you'll be matched up with players who are like-minded. Similarly, if you prefer PvE, you'll be match-made with players who tend to avoid conflict with others. So jumping down here a little bit in the article, it turns out that Arc Raiders will lean on the play style when it comes to matchmaking. The aggression-based matchmaking, however, is not an exact science. Patrick Soderlund, CEO of Embark Studios, told GameBeat in a recent interview / video playthrough of the game. Obviously, first it's skill-based matchmaking, or skill-based, of course, said Soderlund. Then you have solos, duos, and trios, and then we also, since a week or so ago, and this article was back on the well, this was January 4th, but I know sometimes they repeat. articles a little bit, but this might be a new one. We introduced a system where we matchmake based on how prone you are to PvE or PvP. So your preference is PvE. You have less conflict with players. You'll get matched up with them. Or similarly, players. Obviously, it's not a full science. He kind of goes on to say, actually, I want to skip down to another part of the article here for a second, where it kind of goes into. It's worth noting that Southern confirmed Arc Raiders prioritize a skill when it comes to matchmaking. Then the groupings, as he said above, and the aggression-based matchmaking is a factor. But we don't know how much of an influence it has on lobbies compared to other factors. And even Soderlund, admitted it doesn't always work as you think. And how exactly does Arc Raiders determine if you're prone to PvE or PvP? If you kill a on-site player, sure, you're probably prone to PvE. But what if you only shoot back at those who shoot at you first? Does that make your lobbies more aggressive? If so, is that fair? So they're kind of like how that kind of factors in. But since it's kind of like the third or even like fourth tier in their matchmaking, I don't know how much that actually is overall kind of a big factor in the matchmaking. But he does say once again that skill is kind of their top priority, kind of like in most of these games. But I will say, when I am playing, and it's been a little bit since I played, but when I was playing solo, like most of the time, I was just like, people were like super chill, like no one ever would bother me or anything, obviously, unless I shot at them first. But usually I would just be like, hey, obviously there's, you can talk to people. There's proximity based, chat. So it's like, hey, I'm cool, and we would just go on our way. I know Game Logic though, you kind of had the opposite, or less, not as effective when playing solo. But I know that was most of the time even when I was talking with my friends, like they would say the same thing. It's like, yeah, when I'm solo, it's usually pretty chill. Obviously, sometimes there's going to be people out there, they're gonna kill you, which is fine. I know a lot of people are like, oh, they shouldn't do that, but I mean, that's how they're going to play. So I mean, I'm not going to like poo-poo anybody just because they want to shoot on sight, but I'll just try to defend myself at that point. So I just thought it was kind of cool that they officially had stated that this is actually kind of a factor within the game now.
Yeah, it should be clear, and I want to be transparent. Like it's not that I was the victim of that behavior. I was the proprietor of that kind of behavior.
Aggressive.
And I think it's just it's so weird, and it's so interesting seeing this unfold and kind of seeing this happening. And to me, it's, as I've talked about before, it's a matter to me of kind of how and where you grew up in PvP. And it's phased, right? It's not like the first time I ever played PvP was like, it's for me, I played Call of Duty, back on the Xbox 360 because that's what you did, right, on Xbox 360, and then they introduced kind of Modern Warfare and the world of persistent stats, and the world became toxic, and I backed out of online PvP for a decade. And prior to that, I played on PC, where the problem was that people cheated, and so and it was back in a time where people ran servers, and what you tried to do is you tried to get onto the servers where you felt like sysadmins had locked things down and wouldn't allow cheating, which was hard to find. And so generally you would try and find these communities where like that was the esprit, but again, it wasn't as easy as just kind of open world matchmaking. So so I did that, where it was kind of hard to play PvP online on PC without being exposed to cheating. And even before that, we had things like GameSpy and M-Wave and things like that. And then I went to console to play online, because that's where things were locked down and people wouldn't cheat. Back in the day, like what we now realize, right, was a moment in time. There were so many things about the 360 generation that were moments in time that we didn't realize had an expiration date. And one of those things was that was the day where you were playing online, you were PvP, but you were on an island because there wasn't crossplay. And now, we rah-rah and pom-pom crossplay is like this great thing, but I'm certain there are some people who lament it because now those console players are mixed in with PC players who are cheating. Spoken as a person who played a lot of Blop 7 over the break, and and reported, it made 2 reports that successfully got people banned for cheating. So at any rate, then, like I said, we had the rise of the persistent stats. The world became toxic. I got out of PvP even on console. And before crossplay happened in this interstitial place, I became an EVE Online player. And there is no crying in EVE Online. There's no crying in baseball, right? Like
there's no crying in spreadsheets. What are you doing?
There's a zone, right? And this is a little bit like Star Citizen 2. There's a zone where you can play and not be exposed to the seal clubbing. But then, like, when that time's over, like, you kind of cap out with how much you can get done. And then the only way to really progress and really, like, extract any more value out of the game is to get out of the daycare, right, and go on to big boy school. And so it's interesting to see how this. So again, me coming from EVE Online, I'm like, okay, we don't play, like, that's, you're kind of forced to join like a large corporation. So my approach to ARC Raiders is that, like, look, there's no honor amongst thieves. Like, it's, and what I assume is that the moment that I'm nice, I assume that somebody's going to shoot me. Right? So I'm just programmed not to permit that. So what's really interesting though is seeing, and I've heard, and he stopped by our show, Thrifty, aggressively average gamer, who definitely, like, comes from that mindset of, like, he feels like there should be these allowances for people to have alliances and be friendly and things like that. And I think, not to speak for him, but I think he feels that, like, people who are aggressive, like I am, like ruin the game. And I'm like, okay, but, like, I guess I assume at some point the system will achieve equilibrium. It's interesting seeing these developers go through, because what I believe is going to happen is, it seems like these developers are against the idea of there being zones, right? Like the way lots of games like this deal with it is they have a zone, and you can go be PvE, and then if you want the really big rewards, then you can go into PvP. And it's either a separate zone or it's a separate mode, and they try not to allow those populations to exist, and they don't allow, like, TKing, if you're playing in the PvE zone and all that kind of stuff. But these developers seem very staunchly resistant to that idea. So my belief is that the way it's going to go is, I think this thing is just going to become another EVE Online. I think the aggressors are going to win out. And I think where that world's going to get pushed is, it's going to get pushed to people have to band together in large clans or corporations, which is what they became in EVE Online. And you're gonna have clans and bands and tribes and all that kind of stuff, and that's how you're gonna survive. Or you're just gonna be playing, Siri ops, right? Avoid, evade, resist capture type of thing with other players. And if that's the kind of game you want to play, then I guess that's that'll be enjoyable. But I don't believe it's going to settle where there's an ability to kind of be brazen and bold as a standalone mercenary, right? Kind of out there roving on your own in the hopes that you're going to run into other people who are friendly. I think at the end of the day, the PvPers are going to kind of win out in that tug of war. I don't know.
Yeah, I always question too, like, why this game? Excuse me, why this game? Because obviously we've had extraction shooters in the past. Tarkov, obviously, the big one. Arena Breakout. Other minor games that I've played throughout the years, or the last few years. I guess it hasn't been that long, but still. But then it's the AI is, like, really hard in this game. Like, yeah, I know there's you can watch videos on how to take them out solo and stuff like that, but I mean, really, like, you can be overwhelmed pretty quickly in this game. And I wonder if that was kind of a natural thing. Maybe that's how they kind of kind of pushed it to like, hey, maybe I don't know. Now I don't know if they've ever actually said too if this is what they wanted in the first place, but this is kind of just how it happened. Where people actually were, civil. I'll put that in air quotes for you non-video watchers. Civil to each other more or less. So, but it's going to be interesting to see like for the next game or 2 or 3 that come out and say like Marathon, and I don't know. I'm sure there's other ones, and down the pop lane. Like if that's going to be something that's going to happen too, because once like then, like I said, you never saw that, and you definitely never saw that in Tarkov or any of the videos I ever saw, and even Breakout when I was playing that, I was like I was solo playing at times, and people were were always trying to kill you. So
well, that's the thing. And I don't want to begrudge the people who feel like there should be like alliances and friendliness and all that kind of stuff. It's just weird to me because, like you said, like in Arena Breakout Infinite, like there are no friendlies. Like everyone you run into is an enemy. Like if you didn't spawn with them, then objectively in the game's framework is that you are like they're enemies, whether they're human or like, yeah. So it's but no, you bring up a really good point that I really hadn't considered, which is that there's a deliberate thing that the developers did, whether or not that was their intention behind it or not, but they put enemies in the game that make it so that you're incentivized to feel that like the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? So like you're that right there's a dynamic that encourages you to work with other people.
Yeah, because actually, even think about the other games like the extraction zones and arc raiders, like there's always AI enemies coming at you at those points, usually like 99% of the time. All the other extraction shooters, I've never seen like AI enemies near the extraction points. You're usually just worried about the human player, the other PvPers. So I don't know, maybe that was kind of semi thought about in the long run.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there were definitely like the one that I debriefed here, or Arena Breakout Infinite, like in that match, like where we were like all breathing and wheezing and had broken bones trying to get to the extraction point. There were like 3 enemy AI people like camped out like at the thing. But I think your point is still kind of the same, which is that there's differences in behavior that again incentivize you to work with others in arc raiders maybe more so than in other games. Okay, let's go ahead and go on to the second news story in the rundown. This news story over on WCCF Tech by Alessia Palumbo. The Blood of Dawnwalker devs confirmed 2026 launch, tease several announcements to come. Fans of Western role-playing games can start the year a little more hopeful that the Blood of Dawnwalker will indeed launch in 2026 following the release of the developer's launch year special video. Konrad Tomaszewicz, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, founder of Rebel Wolves,
yeah,
and former game director of The Witcher 3 The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt at CD Projekt Red, joined global community lead Dominika Berza to share this message. So, at any rate, I guess this was an event that went down kind of over the break, but after the start of the new year. Blood of the Dawnwalker, that was a Xbox showcase reveal, correct? Was it at the developer direct in January 2025?
I don't remember, but I don't think so, though. I don't know. I could be wrong.
It was on an Xbox Direct at some point. I do remember it.
Yeah, I mean, it was the first time that I saw it was in an Xbox showcase. It may not have been the first time, and it was the first time it showed up in a platform showcase, either PlayStation or Xbox. It was an Xbox one. And I remember noting that it was one of the ones that at least visually caught my interest. Now, this is one that falls in a weird crevice for me, just because I am very weirdly and strangely, and admittedly so, super, super, super particular about my vampire lore. And this game actually, while visually stunning to me, actually said to me, I'm not interested in this game because I think they're going to make some very bold things to do with like vampire lore, and I don't know that I'm with that. So but at any rate, the big thing is they locked it in for a 2026 reveal. So this game is coming to, it is a UE5 game, and it is coming to PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series S and X. I think the big thing for this year is to pick up on which games are UE 5.5, 5.6, 5.7. Apparently, there are very big change in what you would expect out of performability with games that align to that new baseline. Now, again, those are new versions of UE5, so games that have been very long in development are unlikely to shift to that version. Although some development teams will have made the decision that once those versions of UE5 were available, that they were going to shift, even though that may have delayed, when their games may have, come out. I don't know if this is one, particularly with them locking in for 2026. But again, it is a visually striking game, and I think a lot of people are looking forward to it. So I thought it was interesting to put that in the news rundown. And it keeps up with our theme of CD Projekt Red, which will continue on with this next story. As mentioned, the lead developer is a developer this development team, I believe, is out of Poland, and so probably have a lot of pollination from the CD Projekt Red team.
Yep.
So DBQ, this is your news story.
Yeah, at the end of the month, at the end of December, the announcement came out that CD Projekt Red sold Good Old Games, or GOG, the game distribution platform. So this article I pulled from GameIndustry.biz. It was picked up lots of different places. This is by John Hicks, that CD Projekt Red sold Good Old Games, or GOG, to one of its original founders for about $25 million. Mikhail Kaczynski is the person who is now the sole owner of GOG. And there are statements coming out right away saying continuing to reviving classics, keeping games playable on modern PCs, that continued investment and commitment on the platform. And so this is, in some ways, this makes a lot of sense of CD Projekt Red, who is knee deep in whatever comes next for The Witcher and Cyberpunk, that also maintaining a platform for game sales and distribution and running games is a lot to juggle in terms of staffing in this day and age. And so spinning it out, having someone else take over and having it, purchased and out from underneath CD Projekt Red will be interesting to see what, if anything changes with Good Old Games. Or if this provides them a chance to kind of continue their focus that they've had a couple of years ago. What they had a launcher that brought in multiple different platforms, so you could launch right from GOG, but bring in your games from Steam and Ubisoft and EA. Again, I don't know what the user base looks like on GOG in terms of it being the primary place that people go to launch something. But I think the fact that it's now spun off in its own individual kind of property and company is probably good for the long-term health of it as a distribution. Maybe I'll look at Game Logic's eyes and say maybe, or it allows it to kind of flounder a little bit because it doesn't have the backing of a studio as big as CD Projekt Red.
Yeah, that's I guess it's the point of interest for me to see where the next shoe is going to drop. Like, again, separated and surviving out on its own. It definitely has a base kind of like the Internet Archives, but I mean the Internet Archives survives very, very, very much on public funding and donations, and I think a lot of people put their games on GOG out of either necessity or out of, I don't want to say sympathy, but like I don't think there's a ton of business imperative that tells people I need to put my game on GOG. Great. So that's what you're surviving on. In the moment people decide that this isn't worth my time or my interest or whatever, then that tide could turn. And I don't know what other like compelling thing like makes this a thing. And so one part of me says there's got to be a plan, right? There's got to be a thought to like make this more than just like a preservation play. And maybe that's the reason to separate it from CDPR, in an effort to make it a bigger thing. What's weird to me is, of course, with Steam has developers like a chunk of the developers at Valve do development work for the benefit of Steam, whether they're working on games like compatibility, making things play on Steam Deck, whatever. Like some significant chunk of the workforce at Valve is employed doing work for Steam. I don't think that's the case with GOG. And I didn't get the sense out of this article that like any number of bodies came along like to support GOG.
Yeah, I didn't get that sense either. Like it really feels, that kind of tracks with my understanding of GOG over the past couple of years. It really feels static to some degree. Like it hasn't evolved in any meaningful way beyond what it tried those few years ago when it created that launcher to pull things in.
Well, right, and
seemed to kind of hit and then kind of fade away as well.
Right, and like Epic gets all types of flack for it doesn't have friends lists, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have that, it doesn't have the overlay, it doesn't have it doesn't have all the stuff that Steam does, and I'm like, okay, well, like whoever said that a storefront needed that? Like Steam is making an effort to be a platform. That's why it has all that stuff. But I think there's plenty of people who are fine just going to a digital storefront and then buying stuff, and then okay, like I went and I bought my thing from you now. Please don't bother me. And a lot of that, and it's like a ton of that stuff that's on Steam, I don't use or touch ever. So it's like, who cares? And GOG doesn't get any of that flack. But I mean, like I said, like there's like when a new game launches, I have this down select algorithm that I do of like, okay, like where is the game being sold? Where can I go buy? Is it available on Steam? Is it available on Epic? Is it available on like through the Xbox store? Okay, and GOG is like so far down out of mind of like, should I bother checking to see if it's available on GOG? And in fact, I am likely to go buy a thing from the EA Play app or the Ubisoft app before I will think about like, is it available on GOG?
Oh, fact, wow. I won't. Yeah, that says a lot right there.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. All of this is I love GOG. GOG is great. GOG does its thing. It's a spiritual like moral like play. It's like it's it's why you go down to the local bodega, right? Or right. Like why I buy stuff on the local economy here in my little small hometown.
But you're right. Like I would be. There's plenty of times over the past couple of years where like Amazon Prime has given you codes for games on GOG, and I just haven't even bothered to redeem them because it's like, I guess that's one more platform, right? Like, so it'll be interesting to see if this does anything to propel GOG forward, or if it is better in the long run for CD Projekt Red than it is actually for GOG.
Well, right, and all of that really was my long-winded walk around of trying to formulate like GOG is fine. I don't have any problems with GOG. I have to believe that like in this separation that there's a plan, right, to do something like different than what they are now. And if not, then my next speculation is I could see GOG going away as a standalone entity, and I could see maybe where GOG winds up is merging with itch.io and or Humble Bundle. Like there's a lot of these little teeny tiny like satellite stores that I don't know make a ton of sense, right? Well,
yeah, and GOG makes more sense to do something with itch because GOG's piece has always been no DRM, right? Where you own it and you have access to it.
Yeah, so I just don't. Yeah, not a fan of consolidation, but I also don't know that there's like the need for a lot of these, $5, dime shops, selling soda pop and, and I don't know, silver dollar pancakes or whatever by themselves, like on the store corner, on the street corner, by themselves. So we'll see where it goes. Cal, time for you to get back on the mic. Funny that I mentioned that I was more willing to go, buy something from the Ubisoft store, because now it's time to put Ubisoft in the crosshairs.
Yeah, so this article is from Destructoid from Andrei Barovic, I believe is how you say his name. Rainbow Six Siege ravaged by massive server breach that gave its players billions of paid currency for free. This actually happened on December 27th, so a couple days after Christmas. Rainbow Six Siege has been hit by a massive server breach, which hackers exploited to grant players billions in premium currency alongside other exclusive items, skins, and a whole lot more. Ubisoft promptly shut down the servers, but the damage caused could be quite severe. Now, it was about a little bit over, I think, 24 hours that they were actually down. So they came back up sometime on the 28th. Going back to the article, though, as per Pirate Nation, I'm assuming this is like a streamer, and there's another guy and they're going to talk about too I'm not familiar with, but Rainbow Six Siege players were suddenly granted massive amounts, and I think it was in the billions, of R6 credits, renown, alpha packs, and exclusive items, with a ton of accounts were either banned or unbanned. Streamer King Jordan reported thousands of people were banned and unbanned, that over 2 billion of premium, 2 billion of premium currency was given out, and that every other player had received every single skin in the game, including those skins only available to developers themselves. Ubisoft is allegedly keeping an eye on player behavior, as those who have spent the fraudulent funds could be liable for a ban. So I'd advise to steer clear of the premium currency. And then they kind of repeat themselves with the everybody was getting all this, in-game stuff and all these, the renown and the alpha packs. Those are basically, if you don't know, you get like these packs of basically it looks like a playing card, and it gives you like in-game like skins and just like stuff like that, stuff you can put on your player, the guns and stuff like that. But I saw that over the weekend because I know my son, he hasn't played I don't think in a while, but and I was like just telling him about it, and he was just like, yeah, I know. It's like, I haven't played in a while, but so I was like, good. I was like, well, if you do, don't be buying anything if you do have like a bunch of currency in there, because you could get banned. But so this was a pretty big deal. I think there was another article too that I had read where they actually brought down, I think I always forget their other online service game, the kind of the fighting. For Honor, yeah, I think they had brought that down too for a little bit, or during the same time, possibly, just because they didn't know like what was going on. So, one thing I didn't see though is did like the whole network go down? Because I didn't see any reports about because usually like when you go into Assassin's Creed and some of the other games, like it has to connect to Ubisoft servers, but I didn't read anything about people not being able to play other games. So I think those are probably good to go. So it's more of a
The only two I heard of were Rainbow Six and For Honor.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, that was a pretty big hit there that they took, where they had to go down for a whole day, and that they're actually able to give out all this the currency and all these skins and stuff like that. I was like, wow. But I'm sure it was just bound to happen at some point with these online services. So I don't know, what do you guys think?
My only real thoughts on it is, no amount of billions or trillions of Rainbow Six credits are enough to compensate for the toxicity of that community and being harassed and booted out of a match because you don't have the game installed on an SSD, or the team killing, or some of the ridiculous things that I saw during the times I played Rainbow Six Siege. So, you could give me all the credits in the world, you're not incentivizing me to come back to that game, no matter how many Robin Hoods there are, robbing from the rich and giving to the poor.
Yeah. And as far as I was able to tell from the different articles I read, there was no like user data that was taken, supposedly. So we'll see how that goes in the next few weeks and months that come along. So how that happens sometimes. So you don't learn about that until like later on. But I'm assuming all that stuff came, it would probably have been said something by now. I would think. I would hope.
I thought I had seen an article that said something that like this was really just a distraction hack to actually make other compromises. And I mean that's the thing that I would be more concerned with, is that very often something like this is just meant, like I said, as a decoy or distraction to do the exact thing that you're talking about, like steal user data or make some other severe compromises. So yeah, just like burying your head in the sand and like cheerleading the anonymous type of behavior, in the thought that there's nothing malicious behind it. I think that's a very cavalier risk to take, because it's nice to believe that there are altruistic thieves out there, but that tends to not be the case.
yeah. I think I read that same article. I think they were saying that there's some other data potentially that was taken that we just haven't heard of yet. So, I mean, and that was just, a rumor at that point. So we don't know yet. So I'm sure we hear more about it in the coming weeks and months.
Okay. Well, from one act of destitution to a bit of tragedy, DBQ, you want to take us on to the next news article?
Yeah. So this happened on December 22nd, the week of Christmas, in LA on 12:45 in the afternoon. Vince Zampella was in a car accident and was killed. A single car crash. His Ferrari veered off the road. So this is both coming from this one picked up from Game Industry, but also followed the link back to NBC Los Angeles, which reports on it as well. It was picked up all over the place because Vince Zampella has had a significant mark on the industry over the last 20 years, from Call of Duty and Infinity Ward to leaving Activision to starting Respawn and Titanfall, and then being purchased by EA and doing Apex Legends, and most recently being tapped to be kind of the head of DICE and Battlefield as it moves forward. So yes, this tragic car accident, both Zampella and another passenger were killed in the car crash. That the Zampella was the driver, and the car caught on fire after the crash. Zampella died at the scene, and the passenger died at the hospital. So yeah, I think there's been lots of words written in terms of Zampella's impact. We've had people like Kojima out there talking about his relationship with Zampella and how Zampella was kind of critical and key in his support when he broke away from Konami and started his own studio. So yeah, just I feel like this is one of those tragic accidents that happens, and unfortunately, it happens to kind of a luminary within the industry that we follow closely.
Cal, any comments to that?
No, I mean, I think just like kind of everybody, it was just kind of a shock when I read that that headline. I was like, wow. I was like, I couldn't believe it. And I had to, go searching, of course, on the news just to make sure it was true. But yeah, it was just a bummer to, whatever the the case would be. What with this crash, unfortunately, this is someone big in the industry that unfortunately it won't be there going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I can distinctly remember the day when I saw the news articles start to pop, about a little over a decade ago, about Zampella and West, being marched out of Activision HQ by the term that was used in many of the media articles was by the jack-booted thugs of the security force at Activision. And I remember like just poring over the news articles that day and the day after of like thinking like, is this real? Did this really happen? Like Call of Duty is like the biggest thing in gaming right now. Like what is going on? And trying to like figure out like who like like, could this be the Infinity Ward guys who are in the wrong, or is this Kotick, or like what's going on? And hearing that whole story unfold, and then seeing, kind of this. I mean, in that article mentions it, but you go all the way back to like the beginnings of like the Medal of Honor series, and just kind of that historic endemic mark on the industry. That obviously Zempella was kind of in the middle of, and then seeing it, come all the way to this end here is an unfortunate, fortunate series of events.
Yeah, I think that's well said.
So DBQ, did you? And I'm sorry, did you make it a change to the agenda? Because I thought you wanted to talk about the EA.
Yeah, I pulled it out because I've already complained enough about the EA purchase by Saudi Arabia PIF. So yeah, this was just a quick hit that the stockholders approve the purchase. It needs to still go through kind of government scrutiny, but the stockholders did approve it, which isn't surprising considering that they were being paid above and beyond the high share price. So
yeah. And I talked about that recently in a recent solo cast that I did, covering some of the news. And, one of the things that I think, myself and I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but I think it's a David Rao, who's a COO and CFO at a development company now, who's working on a game, but also working on some technology to help accelerate, independent development teams. But we worry that one of the things we'll see, as we've mentioned before on this show too, is that you'll see kind of this loss, right? This power vacuum of investment funds coming out of the industry, of like the total capital that's available, right, and released to independent developers to fund games like Hazelight Studios and Unraveled and Sea of Solitude and things like that. It's highly unlikely that we'll see that investment capital that's been coming from EA being released into those streams. And so that's yet another negative dynamic on an industry that's obviously encountering headwinds and challenges now. So we'll keep an eye on that and see how it progresses. Okay, on to segment 3, our remaining gamer experiences throughout the week and over the holidays. DBQ, you are again at the top of the segment with an 8-bit game.
Yeah, so I used the Steam, winter sale to pick up a couple of things that were sitting on my wish list over the course of some 2025 releases. One of those is a game that came out in October. This is Angry Video Game Nerd 8-bit. So Angry Video Game Nerd 8-bit is it is Angry Video Game Nerd. It is Angry Video Game Nerd has had 2 other games out previously. This very much feels like a Nintendo game. It hits that kind of visual style of a Mega Man, and even looking at the menu select screen, it falls into that Mega Man aspect. There's some Castlevania in here. You've got definitely some kind of auto scrolling levels or sections of a level. You've got a level that the boss is kind of a monstrosity of Fester's Quest. You've got an ET boss. You've got a level that definitely feels like the Airman level in Mega Man 2. It has password system. It's got some amazing music, though. I mean, it really hits the 8-bit chip tunes really well. And it's one of those games where it is easy to bounce off of because it's hard. It's 8-bit hard. Not necessarily, there's some definite cheapness, but it also is a lot of learning patterns and getting your timing down on jumps. But it is a game where, like, if we would have rented it when we were kids, we would have thrown ourselves against the wall until we figured out the patterns.
Yeah, that's exactly what it made. When I saw you doing that jump and shoot, and like where you have to, for people who grew up in the 80s and remember these game design types, like you have to shoot not at the apex of your jump, not at the bottom of your jump, but at some weird interstitial place, like somewhere in the middle of the jump. not at
Yep.
the midway point either. Like, and how frustrating that was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it definitely. I mean, it harkens right back to that, and it captures that very well. And so it's fun to play. I played it on Steam Deck, also played it on PC. It plays great on Steam Deck. It's also out on, I think, almost anything at this point. It's on Switch, it's on Xbox and PlayStation. I picked it up for $16. I'm having a lot of fun with it because I have 8-bit memories. If you didn't grow up in that era, even in this video here, right, you've got some blocks that will fall away, very Mega Man style if you're standing on them for too long. If you have a fondness for that type of game or that kind of time period of games, there's a lot of fun to be had here. Some of the levels are definitely a little easier than others. There's some, Mega Man like spike bombs that kill you instantly if you hit them. You've got special weapons. The one I have right now, if you're looking at the video, I'm throwing bottles, kind of like Castlevania crosses, so you can get different power-ups to your gun so that it has different abilities. But if you get hit, those power-ups kind of they leave you, they bounce off you, and you have to go back and get them, or you lose those power-ups. So there's definitely some punishingness to it. It doesn't feel super cheap in terms of like unfair patterns. It feels very much like, yeah, this would have been a mid-tier 8-bit game at the time. But it's also still a lot of fun to come back to. And in part, it's by Retroware, who's done a lot of different 8-bit stuff over the years. They've done not only the first 2 Angry Video Game Nerd games, but they also did Prison City, which plays out very much like Power Blade on NES. They did Iron Meat, which is very much like a Castlevania game. Just this fall, they released Neo Inferno, which I played the demo of, and it's almost like a Wild Guns kind of future Cyberpunk like game. They've got some other games coming out. A Transylvania adventure of Simon Quest, which is very much a harkens back to Simon's Quest in Castlevania. So they fit this style really well. But it really depends on what you're looking for in a game. And so this, I'm enjoying what I'm playing. It's easy to put it to the side and come back to. It's also because it is one of those games where, like I said before, like if we would have rented this game over a weekend, you would have spent Friday night being frustrated, and by Saturday morning you would have figured out the patterns and didn't want to eat lunch because you were finally getting into the rhythm of this game. And so it fits that niche if you're looking for something like that.
All right, thanks a lot, DBQ. Chow, speaking of 8-bit,
or Cyberpunk.
It's a bit of a joke.
Yeah, that's fair. No, so yeah, I want to hear about this because I picked up this game for the one day that it was on sale for 75% off at $17.50, and then the next day they adjusted the pricing. Like they priced Cyberpunk 2077 at the same percentage off on the eShop as The Witcher, and so I was lucky enough to get there and pick it up in that first day before it went back up. So I know you've enjoyed playing it. It is. I want to hear more about it, and also how it compares to kind of the other big open world games that you've been playing. Like you talked about Shadows earlier in the podcast.
Yeah. It was nice of them too, because like they said, if you had bought it during that time, that they weren't gonna do anything. Like you bought it, that was their fault. It was on them.
Right.
So that was kind of.
I was not losing my license to it, like Ubisoft and Siege.
Yeah. So Cyberpunk 2077 on Nintendo Switch 2. Obviously, I had picked it up back when I had picked up the system, the console, and kind of played it a little bit off and on in those first few months, and I kind of fell off. But once again, since I had the time, I was looking I'll talk about a couple other games because they were kind of pissing me off, which is why I ended up on Cyberpunk here in a minute. But yeah, I jumped back into it, and I've been like really. I mean, when I played on the I played on the Xbox obviously before this, and I was pretty well into it, or pretty, I got into it a good bit, and then once again just fell off. But going back when I got it on the Switch too, I kind of was in that same mindset at first, but then now since I've gone back, I was like, man, this is a really good game. Like I'm really enjoying. And I mentioned like the stealth before in Shadows. In Cyberpunk, you can do a lot of stealth like that too, and I've been kind of doing the same thing where like sometimes if it's like 3 or 4 people, maybe 5 at the most, I'll see and I'll just chuck a grenade into the crowd and see how many I can get, and then just kind of go guns blazing. Other times you kind of have to. I guess you don't have to, but it's just more of an annoyance if you don't go into stealth, because then you got just guys coming at you from all directions. Sometimes you just got to run away, or try to find a hiding spot, or a place where you can kind of hold off. But so I've been trying to do that kind of mix of stealth and kind of gun blazing gameplay, and it's paying off. I think doing that kind of back and forth like that, and I've kind of been doing more of a melee build right now, so I'm using more. Right now, I think I have a hammer. I think I had like a spiked bat or something before. I'm still using guns, but for the most part, I'll just try to beat that crap out of everybody with my bat. And I just picked up a perk where I can like bull charge into some into people, knock them back potentially and stuff like that. So it's you can get pretty intricate in this with your builds and stuff, which I guess I kind of forgot because it took me probably that whole past week trying to get familiar with how that system works, because you can put cybernetics on you, but then there's a whole other skill tree that you doing through your perks and stuff, so it gets pretty involved. So I'm slowly starting to remember how kind of all this stuff works, and just kind of just messed around with the perks. Really, I'm not trying to do any kind of certain build or anything like that, but just kind of letting the points that I have, kind of acquire up, and then I'll just go in there and like just throw a bunch of points into something. So it's been kind of nice. But yeah, I played mostly on handheld since I was away, but the last couple of days I actually have been playing docked, and it's still, obviously not as good as PC or one of the big consoles, but still looks, damn good. And then I'm really surprised on how good this game looks sometimes. Obviously, you don't get like huge crowds like maybe on some of those other systems, but you do get a good grouping of people when you're in kind of the kind of more populated areas, and all the lights in the city, and all the ads that are playing on like the billboards and stuff. They're everywhere. So it's just amazing that the system can handle it. But yeah, I'm having a really good time with it, and I'm actually still. So when I was playing on the Xbox, I got past like the first. I won't spoil anything, but like the kind of the first major story beat that happens, and where you're kind of introduced into Keanu's character, Johnny Silverhand, I believe his name is. But here I haven't even gotten to that part yet. I'm just doing like all the side missions right now before I even start doing that kind of stuff. So just kind of building up my characters. Yeah, having a great time with Cyberpunk right now. Have you had a chance to play it all, or although I think, did you play it before at all, or on any other system?
Yeah, I picked it up on PlayStation 4 and have installed it and played a little bit on PlayStation 5. But I'm looking forward to it. Right, I think I just never settled in enough. I originally played it on Stadia, is where I played it at first. And,
nice. Stadia.
Right. So, but yeah, so I think
2 shows in a row now that Stadia has been brought up.
Looking forward to having a chance to play it in handheld. Feeling really good about what the Switch 2 looks like in HDR, and so like that ability to just jump back and forth, and that probably will give me a better chance to stay with it more so than just being locked one spot.
Nice.
All right. I, amongst many other things, I've been continuing my nostalgia romp through Destiny 2 on PC. I think the big theme for me over the break was I picked up 2 new monitors, and I've since been infused to go off onto this 4K kick, because I think for the last few years I've been so hyper focused on PC on playing at 1440p in order to get like ridiculously high frame rates. And I've talked a little bit before about how admittedly in my OCD, I get like overly obsessed, like if I'm not getting 165 or 144 frames per second. To the extent that like I just neglected like a lot of games to really like play them in 4K and then like crank them up. And so this is one of those games where I did do that. So I was playing Destiny 2. I've got to look really quick. So I was playing Destiny 2 on my box with the RTX 5080, and just on a whim, because like I said, everywhere that I have it installed, I have it playing at 1440p. I cranked it up to 4K because it's over on a 4K monitor, turned everything up, and the game continues to play fine at 144 frames per second. So, it's again continuing that nostalgia romp in the Shadowkeep DLC. Having completed the new arc, the new light campaign, our main story arc at least, with a new warlock. One of the mission that I completed over this weekend was one. It's kind of weird that Eris Morn has become like this mainstay now as part of the series and the lore, after she was such like a just kind of background character there in the early years. But it was very funny. I was playing this mission where you go in to get this, I forget what this thing is, it's cryptologic arc or something like that, but it's this tchotchke that she needs to like power her blood magic like end table that's over in the corner of her main station on the moon. But it's hilarious because you go in and you fight some kind of big set pieces, and then you finally get this thing, and like right before you get the thing, she's like, look, just keep going, get the thing, like once you get it, I'll teleport you out. And as soon as you get it, your ghost is like, all right, Eris, we're ready to go. And Eris is like nowhere to be heard. So you're like, what is going? And then you just hear like the shrieking of the hive and like everything like descending upon you. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do now? And I'm looking at the mini map, and okay, there's a white arrow now telling me, to go in that direction. And I'm like, so what am I supposed to do? And so you run and you run and you run, and like again, she's nowhere to be heard. And then finally, you just there is no stopping to fight like this horde of hive. Like you hit these stopping points along the way, but really the point is just like, do the bare minimum you can to like get through people and survive, and then get out of the catacombs. And then finally, like Eris comes back up on the radio. But you're like, okay, now I'll keep that in mind from now on, like to not be dependent upon Eris to like, pull your extraction, be your extraction plan and get you out of there. So, but it's fun. It's Destiny 2. It's still got the great, shooting mechanics, and, being on this nostalgia romp to kind of go through all the DLC and, walk myself all the way up to, the final shape and get caught up on all the lore and stuff is super interesting. So, one of the other games that I've been playing is Elite Dangerous on PC, which again, I also, I was playing that on a box with an RTX 4070 Super on an ultra widescreen. Crank that one all the way up to 4K, because usually on those ultra wides I usually play at 2560 by 1440p, but I cranked it up to 3440 by 1440p, which I guess is technically 2K, but but maxed it all out, 165 frames per second. Looks great, great performance. I spent about 5 hours in that game today because every time I've gone back to Elite Dangerous, I don't stay in it and on it long enough to like learn all the systems and like really. So I just yes, I was playing the game, but I was also just poring over like tons of technical documentation and FAQs and all that stuff. Elite Dangerous is a fun game, but I spent a lot of time because I had to do a full system scan, of like, which is this really weird, goofy mini game where like you're piloting the ship, but it tells you to go into the sensor screen, which basically you feel like you're Spock, like on the Enterprise, like sticking your head in a hooded visor and blind to the rest of the world. And I pull up on the screen. I'm looking for this black box in the space sector. I pull up the screen and it goes 419 signals in the entire galaxy. And so, you proceed through like hunting and pecking, and you're using these little, radio dial knobs to dial in all these frequencies and figure this thing out. This is after you find the nav beacon and then scan the nav beacon and wait to download all like the system data and then find out, oh, okay, well, the black box is somewhere over here on this planet. So I went and did that. So tons of fun, we're, relearning all those systems. But did that and bought a second ship. So I've had a hauler up to this point, which is kind of a relatively short range, but light speed capable transport craft. And so I've kind of been playing this this role as kind of Harry Mudd of like this interstellar like space trader, relatively small scale. It's not a big transport, so I've been doing small hauls, earning money, and finally made enough money to buy a Viper Mark III, which is more of a kind of a fighter-oriented aircraft or spacecraft. Fitted it out, went off and Googled and found some plans for like a good build, and then had to learn, well, this looks weird, should I upgrade this part? Should I not upgrade that part? Blah, 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 blah. And so have it outfitted and, added some, some bling to it and a paint scheme and all that stuff. And so the next time I go in, I'll have an opportunity to, start off on a second career as a bounty hunter, which is, it's a big thing. The big thing for me at this stage, kind of like I talk about in an Ubisoft game, like there's that moment in time where I have to figure out, okay, how am I approaching this game? Like, what am I going to do? What's the sequence of events that I'm going to go through? And in this one, I pop back into it. I was like, okay, I have this ship. I see that I've upgraded this once, and apparently this is what I was doing. Then it was kind of like, okay, well, I don't think I want to like, be an interstellar like, trader with like a minivan size vehicle, right, making these short cargo hauls. I think I want to, make something more of myself. And so it was, procedurally going through like and figuring out, ships and careers and like in tracks and like what could I afford and all that stuff and figuring out kind of what do I want to be in the verse, at this point. And so I landed on, kind of small time bounty hunter to get my next gig. So that's where I am. So I had a huge amount of fun playing that today, and it'll continue to be interesting when I go back to it. Tao, you have been playing a game that I also came across in 2025 in my return to sports games. Why don't you take us through that? Still playing on the Nintendo Switch 2, I see.
Yes, my next two games will be still on the Switch 2. Actually, before I get to mine, I'm sorry. Did you say what kind of monitors you had gotten?
Yeah. So, these have been things that have been percolating for like the last 6 months. So they weren't like impulse purchases. I've been sitting there and I hadn't convinced myself, but finally I did. So when I came back to consoles, I had all the consoles over on the one like really big monitor, the 43-inch. And I had because it's an HDMI 2.1 monitor. It's also the largest. Like it's the only thing that I have down here that's close to a TV. But I had the RTX 5080 PC plugged into that over DP, and then it has two HDMI ports, and I had the PS5, the Xbox Series X, the Nintendo Switch 2, and my Apple TV plugged into it, and I was just constantly taking out the one HDMI and putting the other HDMI, and then there was just cables everywhere, right? Because each one of those things obviously has a network cable as well. And I was like, this is too. And then when you talk about like setting up that for like a Let's Play or something like that, then you're putting all the studio equipment over there, and I was like, okay, I got to move this stuff. So I had moved the Series X and the Switch 2 over to two different workstations with 32-inch Samsung monitors that were 1440p monitors. And I was like, well, now it kind of sucks that, here's the Nintendo Switch 2, which is supposedly capable of 4K, but I can't do 4K here. And I convinced myself that I was fine with that. And then finally I was like, no, let's just go ahead and pull the trigger. So
we know you, Game Logic. You can't convince yourself that you're okay with not 4K.
Yeah, actually, I mean, it's actually antithetical to because years ago, like a decade ago, I went 4K. And I didn't stay there. I don't have 4K monitors down here until now, because what I found at the time was I like working in my desktop at 1440p. I don't like 4K because stuff is too small, and then you're constantly dorking around with rescaling. And I quite honestly, I had some 4K monitors when I first moved into this house, and I hated it, and I got rid of them. And so I've been on 1440p monitors for a decade. But I went ahead and went down this path. And so I got there was an Asus. There's a 38-inch Asus 4K monitor that went on sale. So I grabbed that. It was an IPS monitor. Every panel that I've had down here for the last several years has been a VA panel. So this was an IPS panel. So I got that for the Xbox, and then for the Switch 2, really the kind of the crown jewel of this time period was there was an MSI 32-inch 4K OLED, a QD OLED monitor that went on sale for like $630, which is crazy because most OLED monitors are like $1,000. And I think MSI has struggled to like sell monitors. So they've been like, I've come across a couple of them that have been really discounted. The one here I have here for podcasting, which is not nearly like what that 4K OLED thing is, but it was also severely discounted when I bought it. So those are the two monitors that I brought in.
Nice. All right, yeah. So I have been playing NBA 2K 26, and I actually got it in a bundle with WWE 25. This past they had the Nintendo store had their holiday sale going on, so it was a bundle for like $50 for both of those games. So I was like, oh, all right. I haven't played a basketball game in a while, and definitely haven't played WWE game in a long time. So picked that bundle up. I've been trying to chop away at 2K26, the career mode, but it's just like I made my guy. I beat the high school kind of challenges you have to go through, or one of the challenges you have to do at least one. Now I'm stuck on like the next level, which I guess
Now you're in Europe.
I'm not in Europe. I'm like in LA and some like I guess like a travel team.
Yep.
I guess so.
Yeah.
So I've literally beat the team like twice, 2 or 3 times, at least twice. But because you have to do like one of the challenges. There's like 3 challenges you can do. You have to do one of those challenges, otherwise you can't like keep going. So I'm like, what? It's like, come on, man! Like this is ridiculous. So. And also, I'm going to go back even further because I did beat it at one point because the stupid save files, it shows it twice on mine for some reason. And I thought, oh, maybe because at one point when I created my character, and then I thought I had backed totally out and then went back in, I thought I like just created another character. So I thought it was like, oh, that second file is must have been that first one I did. So I deleted it, but no, it deleted like everything. So I was like, what the heck just happened? So I had to start all over again. So I'm like, oh, that's great. So I did that. Now that's where I'm stuck. Like I can't beat that stupid, like that first, the first team again for some reason. So it's just, I don't know why. And so I've kind of gone on through the online portal too. You can go and there's like a little hub world. You can go and do like different activities. So I've been doing a little bit of that too here and there. It's kind of cool, kind of nice. You play some pickup games or whatever, and just do all the different games that you can play. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of nice you can do that. So I don't know. Like every day, I try at least once to just beat that guy again. I don't know. And then you can pick different teams. Like I don't have to beat like the first team on the list. Like I think there's like 5 or 6 different teams you can go through. But I'm like, I just the way I am, I have to start from the top and just I'll go through them all. So I'm doing that right now, and it was just making me mad. So I jumped back into Cyberpunk at that point. But no, otherwise it plays for it does have that weird thing with the cutscenes sometimes that I had with MLB. MLB The Show. I think it was 23 that I got on the Switch, and this was on the original Switch, where like the cutscenes and stuff would kind of be like kind of janky and stuttery sometimes, but the actual gameplay is fine. So I get that sometimes on here, but otherwise, like it plays fine. Like I said, the games themselves are I don't have any issues. I don't think I've played docked yet, so I'm only playing handheld right now. So, but yeah, it's been kind of cool. I tried doing the stick shooting. I don't know. I might try it again, but I like the buttons. Just doing the old school buttons where you just see the little meter, kind of pop up and make your shot and stuff like that. But maybe I'll try the stick shooting again at some point. But it just seemed kind of weird to me. Maybe just because I've been so used to the other way. So, but yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's nice to get back into a basketball game.
Nice.
All right. Okay, very cool. The other thing I've been playing, and it's the last report out for me tonight. Although I am going to take this opportunity to just mention some of the other stuff that I've been playing, because there's this weird. I'm definitely in like a sci-fi groove right now. So as part of my current rotation, I've been playing Starfield, The Outer Worlds 2, Destiny 2, Elite Dangerous, and No Man's Sky. And so there's kind of this weird and serendipitous like synergy between all of those things, just like with the sci-fi settings, and so it's really been kind of cool. But the thing that I'll mention is the Outer Worlds 2. In another weird instance of happenstance, I was playing Halo Infinite on PC through my Steam account in early December, and I like literally 4 days later, for some reason, I have been unable to log into my Xbox Live profile on my Steam games. And so, damn you, Microsoft, despite my effort in 2025 to get as much Microsoft and Xbox out of my life as possible, I've been kind of forced and compelled to start using the Xbox app again. I would actually say in part of the science experiment through December 2025, I'd actually gotten to the point where I had uninstalled that app. So don't do that. It's apparently not a good thing to do. But you know, I had launched it and like turned off all of the you know, it grabbing all my games from like all my other launchers, and like I can't stand that. But at any rate, I had picked up the Outer Worlds 2 on Xbox, and so again, being driven and compelled back to being forced, or feeling forced that I would have to start using the Xbox app again. I was like, oh, you know, since I'm using the app again, that actually means I have dual entitlement to that game through the Xbox Store on PC, and so let me run it there and install it there. And play it there. That is on the system that has that 38-inch Asus IPS 4K monitor now. So same thing. I was playing that at 4K with like everything turned up. Looks great. And so I started a new run on that with a new character. I had just kind of gotten it started on Xbox, but started a new run on it on PC. Made some slightly different trait choices. And so it's been enjoyable. I saw some angst online about like a review of the Outer Worlds 2. You know, I hate to sound like I'm giving Obsidian a pass, but
I was really waiting for this. This was a build up here. There was a pause.
Well, I had the flu over the break too, for about a week, so I'm still kind of have a scratchy throat. But the difference to me is like in what I'll talk about is how I like didn't and don't give Starfield a pass, but I do give Obsidian a pass, right, for like the Outer Worlds 2. Is to me the difference in kind of my perspective, the lens I view it through, is Bethesda's. And let's also like make sure that we're clear. I didn't like Bethesda before they were acquired by Xbox, right? I have always felt that studio is, and I'm talking about Bethesda the studio, not the publisher, not ZeniMax, not, you know, Bethesda publishing, but like that studio to me has always been overblown. I've never grokked with a lot of their games at a pitch. Like I didn't like the Elder Scrolls 3 on OG Xbox. I didn't like traipsing across like the entire world, you know, in a straight line just because, you know, you could. There are elements of their design that I feel like are onerous. Like I don't like walking into a room and being forced, you know, maybe it's not forced, but I'll call it forced to like hunt and peck to search through like every single little teeny tiny thing in a room that you can search through to find out if there's anything of value or anything that progresses the story. Sure, yes, there are elements like I you know, I won't talk about Starfield tonight, but I love the first person shooter outpost takedown aspect of Starfield. Mechanically, and you can talk about it being repetitive, right? And so this, but like mechanically, I like what it does. I don't have those expectations associated with an Obsidian game. Obsidian is a team that like sets its scope and operates within that scope. And so I don't have the angst for that. And nobody ever took Avowed or the Outer Worlds 2 and said that they were supposed to be game of the generation, or that they were supposed to be these monumental like magnum opuses, you know, like fueled by the cult of personality of Todd Howard, that was supposed to be like the second coming. Like nobody ever said that. So they're just supposed to be pedestrian games that you go in and you play, and you get 20 to 40 hours of enjoyment out of them. You enjoy some quirky British humor, right? And then you go on about your business. And so that's kind of what the Outer Worlds 2 is. It has some interesting mechanics. We've talked about those before. I won't go into them, as much tonight. There's a lot of things it doesn't do. Like it obviously doesn't do the, space fighter stuff like I talked about with Elite Dangerous. It's set pieces that transition you from here to there and then put you in a setting, and then you go off and you do very, very crappig, CRPG types of things, within a limited tapestry. And so, but if that's what you're looking for, I also find it enjoyable. So, DBQ.
Yeah,
I'll just Switch too.
I have been playing a little bit on Switch too. Just a quick hit here. So, playing with my kids over the holiday break, playing Sonic Racing Crossworlds. So this came out this fall on every platform, and then in December came out on Switch 2. So I've been playing on Switch 2. Playing 3 players. It's a lot of fun. I'm somebody who really enjoyed Sonic Racing Transformed back on the 360 PS3 era. Didn't really enjoy Sonic Team Racing from a few years back, but it's got great drift mechanics. It's got a variety of worlds. It's got DLC of SpongeBob and Minecraft, and it's going to get Mega Man. If you are not on a Nintendo platform and are looking for a kart racer, this is a really solid kart racer. If you are on a Nintendo platform and have feel like you've done everything you want out of Mario Kart World, this is a great alternative. The racing is fast. The items, the speed boosts, the drifting, it feels good. It's just a really well made kart racer, and it plays really well on Switch 2. Looks great, plays well. It doesn't have like a huge kind of campaign like Sonic Racing Transform does, but it has more than just simply do a Grand Prix and unlock the next thing. So there's a number of different modes and some multiplayer pieces. There's a lot of variety to it. So I really enjoyed what I played, and it was a lot of fun to play with kids as well.
Very cool. Tao, did you have anything else that you wanted to add? I know you talked a little bit about WWE. Is it WWE 2K25?
Yeah, 2K. Yeah, I forgot to put that in there. Sorry. Super quick. This is probably the least amount of time I've had to play of all these games. I picked that up, like I said, with the bundle with NBA 2K26. I created my character, which totally forgot how involved that customization, that character customization is in those games. So I was like an hour at least, probably more. And then going through the career, whatever their career mode is called, I forgot what it is right now, but my career mode, man, a lot of talking at the beginning of that that mode. So a lot more than any other ones I've ever played. So that took a while just to get through all that, and finally did one match, which I unfortunately, mistakenly, because I didn't go through all the tutorial, I just kind of the first few things kind of tapped out on one of the matches, my first match, by mistake, because I was just hitting buttons trying to get out of it, and I accidentally hit it. I think it was like X or something to give up, so I did that, unfortunately. But seems pretty good. Like one of the reasons I kind of bounced off of WWE is because it's kind of the intricate gameplay. Like there's like I have to hold down left shoulder button and A, I think, just to drag a person around. Now it's like, why can't I just hold A? Like, why is all this got to be so complicated? But I'll get back into it and figure it out. At least just learn the basics and keep plugging away at it, because it's been a while since I've played a WWE. I don't know like 3/4 of the people. I'm like, I don't know who these people are, like, because it's been a long time since I've followed wrestling. But you still get some of the old time guys that you can play in there. And I just created my character, so I'm just a custom guy now, so it's kind of cool. But yeah, I'll keep plugging away at it.
All right, very cool. No significant releases coming out this first calendar week of the year. This first full calendar week of the year. Yeah, release week. So other than that, anything else you guys want to add for tonight? Next week, Tao is in the center seat as host, and DBQ and I will be backing him up. So from the rest of the crew, anything else to add? Okay, well, thanks a lot, everyone who happened to come through the live stream and through the chat. Thrifty, aggressively average gamer, we appreciate you. For anyone else who happens to view this episode in the VOD or in the archive version on the E2KG Network podcasting channel on YouTube, we appreciate you as well. Please feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you can just receive a notification whenever we post new content. Until next time, take care of yourselves, stay safe out there, play the games that you like, and come here to talk to us about the games that you love. Once again, my name has been Game Logic from the Rounding Off Infinity Gaming channel on YouTube, one of the co-hosts of the Enough to Keep Going weekly video games podcast on the E2KG Network podcasting channel. We are here every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Joining me tonight have been my stalwart partners in crime, Mr. DBQ Hams and Tao Master 99. Until next time, good night, good luck, and good gaming. That's going to do it for us. We're out of here.